I was bullied, and this is my story. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about something that is pretty personal, and it's something I wanted to introduce to my channel for like a long time, but there's a time and place for everything, and today I've been thinking about making this video and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to get on and I'm going to make it. So where do I start? I guess I'll start with primary school, which was where it all began, where it started. I grew up in a little village and I went to a really lovely small village school. It was a really nice place. The people that ran it were really lovely. I pretty much loved every teacher that I had, and when it was time to leave and go to big school, go to secondary school, like I really didn't want to leave. I just wish I could have stayed at that school forever. There was a group of 5 of us, and we all got along well, apart from an odd bickering that, you know, girls have, but we did get on well. It all started when 2 of the friends out of the group actually left that school and left that area. I was really close and got on well with the 2 girls that actually left, so it was pretty sad. I would say this all started around the age of 6, 7, so it's quite young. One of my friends, she moved back to Spain where she came from. A lot of her family lived there still, and they decided to go back to there. And my other good friend, she and her family moved down to Cornwall. And so it ended up being the 3 of us. And to start with, things were okay. And then one of the girls decided to be the instigator of bullying. It started with like the playground, just like, I guess, being the odd one out because there was only 3 of us. The other 2 would pair up and I would quite often be left out. Started with things like that, and then it sort of started with a little bit of name calling and just being a little bit like mean, and then it kind of progressed to, it happened in the classroom as well. The teachers didn't know anything. I didn't say anything until like years and years later on. But it started in the classroom as well. The instigator, let's just say her name was Polly. I don't want to actually use these people's names because, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right, and they might end up watching this video and stuff, and I just don't know. I just don't want to use their proper names. So let's say one's called Polly and the other one is Daisy. Okay, so Polly decided to be the instigator to things, and she started to, it got physical. So she started to pinch my legs underneath the table, and I would actually do it back because I was kind of like doing it in a way of, leave me alone, back off, leave me alone, stop doing that because I can do it back. But then it got worse, and she would continue to do it and do it harder, and it really hurt. Then things would get like displaced, like, so my things would go missing, and they would both be laughing that it had gone missing because they were hiding it and wouldn't give it back. And just little things like that, which I know a lot of kids generally do to torment each other, but it really affected me, and things just got worse. But the weirdest thing was that Polly and Daisy, they would come to my house and stay over, and my mum would cook for them, and we would play in the garden for hours. They'd come to my house and play with me, and not once would they bully me then. As soon as we were back at school, they would bully me. So it was weird, it was really strange. And Polly would come to my house quite a lot, sometimes on her own, and so would Daisy. But Polly would like come to my house and sometimes stay for like 2 weeks, and not even want to go back to her house. And so yeah, she came to my house a lot, and I thought we were good friends. But then when we went back to school, I knew things weren't right, because they would change and turn on me, and it was really upsetting. And I did have some male friends as well. One of the friends actually frightened me. He also gave me abuse. And it's weird, because it's actually weird doing this video talking about it, because I've never like properly spoken to anybody about it apart from like really close people. But basically this guy, let's just say we'll call him Chad, he was, I think he had anger issues, and he must have had some sort of anger problems. He was always getting in trouble, but he one day got cross with me. I can't remember why it was, but I just remember him grabbing my clothes and pushing me up against a wall and saying, "I'll fucking rape you." And I remember as a kid not knowing how to respond to that, and he frightened me because he was so strong and he did it so forcefully. I was terrified that he was going to hurt me at school when the teachers weren't looking. And so I remember I must have been so shocked and felt so threatened that I literally ran to a teacher straight away out in the playground and ran up to them and told them what had happened, and they instantly called him over and got him to apologise, etc. But I think even when someone apologises, like, it doesn't make that okay, and you don't forget that incident, like, it stays with you forever. And that happened to me, and it's something that I'll always remember happening, and I can see his face clear as day. He was so angry, and I just feared him. And I remember from that day on I just stayed clear of him completely, and luckily he didn't ever go to my secondary school, so I never saw him again ever after that. A lot of the bullying from primary school I don't remember as much as I do from the age of 6, 7. I remember it more when I was about 11, 12, when we moved up to big school, up to secondary school. And we left primary school when we were 11, went up to secondary school, and we had to start getting a coach for our transport to the school because it was a little while away from our village. So we were getting on a bus, and I remember getting on there, and where I lived was the last stop, and I got on and they were at the back seat with all the guys as well, and I would get on, there wouldn't be many seats left, and I had to sit with, like, you know, the typical geeky person that nobody wants to sit next to. And I remember being upset that they never saved me a space or never thought about me. Kind of upset me. And then when we got to big school, basically, like, secondary school, they divide you into all these groups, and I actually wasn't in a lot of their lessons. So I was kind of like thrown in the deep end of thinking, shit, I'm gonna have to make new friends. And I was really wary about making new friends because I didn't want anybody to be horrible to me and bully me. So I met some girls, and they turned out to be really, really lovely. And one of them actually stepped in, and I think they she saved my life, basically, because I think if if she hadn't had done what she had done, I probably would have committed suicide or something, because it got that upsetting and I was just being tormented on a daily basis. The ways in which I was being tormented was on the bus rides home. I think because we went up to secondary school, they didn't see so much of me, so they felt that they had to make up for not seeing me. So they bullied me, and they got some of the guys on the back of the bus to throw things like sandwiches and stuff. Like, they would hit the window near me, but not actually hit me directly. And I just remember a couple of the lads joined in, and one of them was supposed to be a friend. He joined in, and they would start saying things about my mum and my dad, and they would just start sort of saying horrible things about my family on the way home. And I just remember sitting, looking out the window, thinking, just hurry up and get home, please get me home, please get me home. I just want to get home as fast as I possibly can and just get away from this, because I couldn't escape it, and it was really, really horrible. And then things got bad when it was like the school holidays. They would hang out with a couple of the lads that were also doing the bullying, and they would hang out down in the village. I lived just out of the village, like the hill up from the village, so a little bit more isolated. And they were hanging out in the village, and they would ring me and ask me if I wanted to come hang out with them. Sometimes, on a rare occasion, I would, but normally as a kid I didn't. I just stayed playing in my back garden. Like, I really didn't go out, and that's probably because of my anxieties and stuff. But they would ring me and ask me, and then I would say no, and then I'd go about my day, and then like a couple of hours later they would start ringing me again, and then ringing me and just saying horrible things down the phone. And why aren't you coming out? Oh, you're like this and you're like that, and blah 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 blah. And then I would just hang up on them, and then they ring me again. And this one guy, he wouldn't stop ringing me, and my brother was home, and I remember him saying, "Who's that calling you?" And I said it was so and so. I don't want to say names. And I told him who it was, and he said, "Give me the phone." And I remember him saying, "It's Jess's brother, please will you just leave her alone, stop calling her." And then down the other end of the phone they were all saying, "Oh Jess, we know it's you pretending to be your brother, you know, stop pretending to be him, you know, why don't you just come hang out with us?" My brother would be like, "No, it's Jess's brother, like it really is me." And they'd be like, "Oh Jess, we know it's you." And it was just constantly like torture like that, like mental torture that would just wind me up and make me feel so stressed, because I'd be like, no, it really is him. Like, I'd want to have to like prove to them that it really was him, like sticking up for me. And it got to a point like, well, I had to turn my phone off because they just wouldn't leave me alone. And then it got to the point where like my mum actually called like the guy that was doing it, like she actually called his mother and like said, "Oh, can I speak to him on the phone?" And like my mum would ring him direct and say, you know, "Leave Jess alone, like stop bullying her, it's not nice." So like my mum like stepped in and started telling them off, like to stop doing it. And then like for a little while it would be quiet, but then it would continue on. And I just felt like all that happening to me and like going to a new school, like it really didn't give me like a good start. And I really felt like I must have been a horrible person for somebody to do that to me. Like I felt like I was what they were telling me, like I was all those things, and that I was a loser, and that I was boring, and just because I didn't want to go hang out with them. Like, but I had my own hobbies. Like, I would go regularly to a riding place and I would do horse riding. So I would go regularly there. That was like my hobby, with a different friend who like was like quite a few years younger than me. She just happened to live over the road, so like we both had interest in horses, so both our mums was like, let's take them horse riding. So I had my own interest to do. I wasn't interested in hanging out down a village just walking around not doing anything. I had better things to do, and we always had animals growing up. My parents used to breed dogs, so there was always puppies to look after and things like that. So yeah, I think that helped me to mature a bit quicker than they did, because like when I used to go horse riding, I was dealing with a lot of adults up there, and I would chat, like have good conversations with adults. So and I was doing adult things. I was caring for horses, I was doing mucking out, I was looking after the horse, we were cleaning tack, we were like doing so much, lifting buckets of water and everything. And one of those girls that was up there that I was riding with, she actually went to my secondary school, so I already knew her from riding, and that was quite nice because that gave me a little feeling of sense of security. But yeah, like, so it continued on, and like I said, I just felt like a really shitty person, and I believed everything they said, and I think I was generally so confused, because they would come to my house individually and they would eat dinner with my family, and we would have such a good time. Like, I'd have such a good time with them, and then as soon as we were like out of that environment and just at school, whatever, they would just be so nasty to me, and they ended up ganging up. They paired up really closely, and it was literally me being bullied all the time. Pretty much Polly that was always the instigator, and yet you would not think it, because she was like, she came across as the most quiet, timid person ever. So it just, I guess I was always trying to make sense of it in my mind, and I couldn't make sense of it, and it would just confuse me. So secondary school didn't start out great for me, and I actually met a new friend who kind of, she didn't mean to do this, but I don't think she even realised that she was doing it. But when we'd have our lunch, like a little break, not our proper lunch break, but like a little semi break, we'd have like packets of crisps, we'd be eating them, and she would, like, obviously, again, I don't want to say names, but say her name is Rebecca. Rebecca would just either hold her hand out like that for me to give her a crisp, or she would physically put her hands in my crisp bag and take them out. And so I was just kind of getting used to my new friends and having distance from the bullies, and then she was almost being like another bully. And so I met this other girl, and she seriously like saved the day, and she's like a fucking hero. And I don't think she knows this, because I lost touch of pretty much all my friends apart from one from school, and we all moved away and just got on with our lives. And if she ever watches this, that would be amazing. But she literally, like, yeah, she saved my life. And I will say her name, because it doesn't matter to say her name, because she did something good and she deserves to be recognised for that. But her name was Abby, and I told Abby what was happening with the bus, and I basically told her everything. And she said, you can't go on like living like that. That's not fair. Like, you don't deserve to be bullied. And she actually made me feel like I was worthy of having good friends and being loved by people. So she really convinced me to go and talk to a teacher, and she supported me. She said, I'll come with you. She held my hand and we went in, and I told this teacher, told her everything. I was getting really abusive texts from these girls, and I showed her them, and she said, this is disgusting. And she called Polly and Daisy into the room, and she said, I have heard Jess's story, I've read the text messages, what do you have to say for yourselves? I can't really remember what they said, but I remember that the teacher said, if you continue to bully her, then you will be expelled from this school and you have to go to another school. Because I remember where I went, they took bullying like really seriously. And she said, if Jess complains to me one more time about you being horrible to her, then you will have to leave the school. And they were like, and she said, do you want to leave this school? And they were both like, no, like, we're happy here. So she said, you leave Jess alone, like, you leave her alone. And I remember them, like, I think they said sorry, but like, they didn't truly know what they had done. And I guess that was the last time I ever really spoke to them and acknowledged them. I mean, I seen them around school. And I would just sort of smile and they would smile, but that was it. And from then on, I moved on with my new group of friends. And Abby again stood up to the other girl that was trying to take my crisps all the time and said, stop it, that's mean, you know, don't do that to Jess. If you asked her, and then she would start asking me if she could have a crisp, and I would say no. And then that kind of sorted that problem out. So yeah, Abby did save my life completely, because I believe if she hadn't have done that and she hadn't stepped in and she hadn't supported me, then I probably still would have been bullied, and it probably could have got really nasty. And yeah, like, I may not have been here to tell this story, but I'm glad I am here to tell this story. I was bullied. I had some physical abuse, I had mental abuse, and I had a lot of hurt feelings, and that really didn't help me when I was at school. And I hated school so much, couldn't wait to leave. But thank goodness I managed to meet a new group of friends who were lovely to me and made me feel that I was worth something and that I was worth being friends with. And I don't want to get all emotional, but yeah, there can't speak right. There will be people in your life that will save you from something, even if it's a stranger that says something to you when you're out one day and just makes you think a little differently about life. There will be people that are like earth angels, and they will step into your life and they will give you comfort, and they will tell you that you are worthy of living. And yeah, I do believe that there is somebody out there for everybody. And yeah, I just was so thankful to Abby. I think it was worse for me because it was my best friends, and I would take them into my house and they would sleep over, and like, I genuinely loved them as friends, but then they were so nasty to me and I just would fall for it every single time, and it was just hard. And if you are being bullied, then please reach out to somebody. If you're at school, please tell somebody, and get it sorted. If you're badly being bullied by adults, then call the police, you know, do something, because nobody has the right to be nasty to you and bully you. It's disgusting. I hope in some way this might have helped somebody. I know it's a little different to my mental health videos, but I wanted to share it because it happened to me and that was my childhood. Thank you for listening. If you've got this far, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I will see you very, very, very soon. Goodbye all. I love you. Mwah.